You know, every once in a while, a movie comes along that just changes the game. And for intelligent horror, Sinners was absolutely that film. Critics called it a masterpiece, and for good reason. It took the whole vampire story we all know and turned it into this incredible look at history, family, and what's really going on inside its characters. So today, we're going to break down how all those pieces fit together to create something truly unforgettable.
And it all really starts with this one quote from Michael B. Jordan. It sounds so simple, right? But this little line, it's basically the key that unlocks the entire movie. Because long before any vampires show up, Sinners is a story about two brothers, Smoke and Stack, and the complicated, fractured past that hangs over every single thing they do.
All right, so let's meet these guys. Smoke and Stack, both played just brilliantly by Michael B. Jordan, are the absolute heart of this thing. But here's the deal. To really get who they are when the movie starts, you have to understand everything that happened to them before page 1 of the script.
See, the movie's depth comes from this incredibly rich backstory that basically drives the whole plot. It kicks off with this huge shared trauma. They kill their own abusive father to save Stack. That act forges this powerful, really dark bond between them. Then, they go off to fight in World War I, which leaves Smoke with some serious PTSD. After a painful 3-year separation, they end up back together working as enforcers for Al Capone in Chicago. So every single choice they make in the film, it all comes from this complicated history.
And that shared past, it created two totally different guys. Smoke is the doer, the protector. He's the one who carries all their trauma, and you can literally see it in the tremors in his hands. Stack, on the other hand, is the dreamer, the charmer. He's the style guy who's always focused on what he wants right now. This massive difference in how they see the world. One guy looking to the future, the other living for the moment. That becomes the crack that the vampires just pry right open.
Okay, so this complex relationship between the brothers, that's the heart of the movie. But let's not forget, this is all happening inside a horror film. I mean, Sinners is a vampire movie, for sure, but the horror here is doing something much, much bigger.
It's what some critics call intelligent horror. And what that really means is that the scares aren't just there to make you jump out of your seat. They have a purpose. In Sinners, every single scary moment is there to tell you something new about Smoke and Stack or to push the movie's main theme forward. The horror serves the story, not the other way around.
And that's because the real battle in this movie isn't just people versus vampires. No, it's a battle of ideas. Do you preserve your culture or do you assimilate? And every character is on one side or the other. You've got Annie, who is all about preservation. She knows who she is and would rather die than give that up. Then you have Mary, who's disconnected from her roots, which makes her an easy target. And right in the middle is Sammy, torn between the blues of his heritage and the assimilated culture of Christianity. Even the villain, Rimmick, fits in. He's an Irish immigrant who basically erased his own identity to gain power.
So you have to wonder, where does a theme that powerful and that personal even come from? Well, the soul of Sinners wasn't dreamed up in some writer's room. It was actually born from a very real place of love, music, and a whole lot of guilt.
That's the director, Ryan Coogler. He's talking about being away making movies while his uncle James, the man who taught him all about the blues, was passing away. That raw feeling of guilt, you know? Being torn between your work and your family, that became the emotional foundation for the entire film.
And that's why the Delta blues music is so central to this movie. It's not just a soundtrack. It's practically a character. It's Coogler's way of honoring his uncle, of working through that grief. It's a connection to this art form that is all about turning pain and history into something beautiful. It really is the film's beating heart.
So, you've got this deeply personal, emotional story with these complex themes. How do you shoot that? Well, the filmmakers made a really bold choice. They decided to tell this intimate story on the biggest, most epic canvas you can imagine. And that, well, that came with some pretty insane challenges.
Just imagine the pressure. They shot on these enormous IMAX film cameras. But each roll of film, which is super expensive by the way, only holds 2.5 minutes of footage. That's it, 2.5 minutes. That means there was zero room for error. Every single take had to be perfect. And the limits didn't stop there. For all those huge IMAX shots, they pretty much only had 2 lenses to work with, a 50mm and an 80mm. For a whole movie! That kind of constraint forces you to be so creative and disciplined in a way you just don't see in most movies today. And when I say grand scale, I mean it. To get that iconic shot of the church entrance, the crew was operating a 50-foot telescoping crane. 50 feet! It just goes to show you they were bringing blockbuster tools to tell a story that was all about character.
But sometimes, all that big tech isn't the answer. This quote from the cinematographer Autumn Durald Arkapaw really says it all.
For one of the film's most powerful shots, she made the gutsy call to use no artificial lights at all. Just the actors, the camera, and the raw power of the sun. It's just an amazing commitment to authenticity.
Okay, so let's see how all of this comes together. We're going to look at one specific scene, the sunset at the farmhouse, where the characters, the theme, and all that incredible filmmaking just click into place perfectly. It's a scene that is just unbelievably tense and also stunningly beautiful.
So here's the setup. The stakes could not be higher. In the world of this movie, the second that sun disappears below the horizon, the vampires get all their power. So our heroes are in a literal race against the clock, and their lives depend on these last few minutes of daylight.
Now that creates a huge problem for the filmmakers. The script calls for this intense 10-minute scene that has to happen during a perfect sunset. But in real life, that perfect magic hour light, it only lasts for a few minutes, tops. So how in the world do you shoot that?
As if that wasn't hard enough, at the worst possible moment, with the perfect light just fading away, their one-of-a-kind IMAX camera jammed. Can you even imagine the panic? They're literally watching their one chance and the sun itself disappear right in front of them.
But then, in a moment of pure movie magic, the technician fixed the camera just in the nick of time for them to get one perfect, real shot of that sunset. The rest of the scene you see is an incredible mix of that single authentic moment, blended seamlessly with amazing visual effects to recreate that sky. It's this perfect fusion of luck, skill, and technology.
So it leaves you with this big question, right? What is it that takes a film from just being great and turns it into a masterpiece? Is it the personal soul that the creator pours into it, the complex themes that really make you think, or is it the sheer mastery of the craft that just leaves you speechless? With a film like Sinners, the answer seems to be, yep, all of it. And that is what makes it unforgettable.